Kia ora. This presentation will critically examine personalised learning and its use to improve junior social studies teaching and learning within a large multicultural secondary school in Auckland. Over recent years, against a backdrop of curriculum development, improved cultural responsiveness, and below national average academic outcomes, the social sciences learning area changed their junior social studies curriculum for years 9 and 10 in 2017 to better adopt personalised learning, with an increased focus on student inquiry. This was a move endorsed and encouraged by the school leadership and accepted without much opposition by the learning area staff. Although the move has been a success in some ways, inertia has occurred, and issues that the new approach aimed to fix are still evident. This presentation will show that although personalised learning is a well-used term in education, its wide-ranging and ambiguous nature requires a full understanding of the literature and data for effective integration. This case study highlights some of the common misunderstandings surrounding it. The adopted approach attempted to encourage personalised learning by providing more opportunities for student inquiry. Both terms are in vogue, seemingly compatible, and both with literature describing varied definitions and disputable effectiveness. Personalised learning aims to achieve a systems-level shift, creating an education system built around the learner, rather than the learner conforming to the system. Moreover, the Ministry of Education state that personalised learning results from holistic approaches to teaching and learning that are learner-centred and learner-driven. Because learner-centred and learner-driven approaches are in reality markedly different, this creates a minefield for teachers to navigate. It is important that a clear distinction between the two is drawn, as this presentation aims to show. Student inquiry, often used as a pedagogy for a learner-driven approach, is a rather nebulous term first labelled by Bruner as discovery learning, which he defined as requiring the learner to interact with the material in an active and self-investigatory manner. Interestingly, Bruner had a change of heart, refining the term to guided discovery, and other related terms since reflect this uncertainty. By focusing on the use of personalised learning through student inquiry, it was hoped that students and teachers alike would benefit. Teachers would be freed up to engage with more one-to-one coaching and mentoring, and students would find more freedom with their learning, becoming more engaged and experiencing better outcomes than previously. Personalised learning aimed to supersede the traditional method of teaching and learning, often referred to as a one-size-fits-all system. 21st century learning discourse often views this system as a production line, with the goal of raising all students' achievement to an identical level. With this industrial age model, students must conform to the system or fail. Cunningham argues that schools often resemble miniature factories, with students organised by their age, learning teacher-centric activities from a predetermined curriculum in roughly identical classrooms. This viewpoint resonated. The long-standing established learning modules were crafted to cover levels 4 and 5 of the New Zealand curriculum document. They were teacher-centric and had become stale, with staff largely frustrated by the rigid and inflexible system. Students were often passive and uninspired during class. The prospect of more freedom was enticing. The calls for learner-centred personalised learning are well established. Dewey believed the subject matter of the school curriculum should mark a gradual differentiation out of the primitive unconscious of social life, therefore attaching vital importance to how and when students are introduced to epistemic thinking, defined here as the processes for constructing and evaluating theories explaining phenomena. This journey from the subjective world held by every child to the objective world structured by each subject's system of meaning should be built gradually and in a manner sensitive to the child. The one-size-fits-all system does not lend itself well to this end, as multiplicity, diversity and difference struggle here for accommodation. Dewey also believed the industrial age system rendered students passive, whereas personalised learning is thought to empower the student into becoming active with agency. The argument appealed and persuaded. Turning now to learner-driven personalised learning, De Broeke et al. Outlined the perceived benefits of inquiry learning, with concepts and rules more fully remembered, intrinsic replacing extrinsic motivation, and improved problem solving. Furthermore, Bolster et al. Claimed that learners have to feel in charge of the pace and direction of their learning, yet a full understanding of a learner-driven approach does not exist in the empirical data and literature. Although it has been shown to have a clear positive effect, the data does not pin down exactly where the added value comes from. Irrespective of the current focus on and frequent hype about a learner-driven inquiry approach, literature and empirical data on cognitive load, memory and epistemic knowledge warn about its use and the value we place on it. If left unchecked, with the method of pure discovery employed by the teacher, then cognitive overload for the student becomes a risk. Learner-centered this is not. Mayer defines pure discovery pedagogy as students receiving problems to solve with little or no guidance from the teacher. When this occurs, cognitive load increases, leading to a higher likelihood of hampered learning. Of course, pure discovery is an extreme, but many teachers do mistake it for good practice. Inquiry must be delivered with the correct support for the individual student, who will in most cases be a novice, and therefore sees, experiences, and learns differently from an expert. The main difference is that a novice will not have the developed cognitive schemata or conceptual knowledge of an expert in their long-term memory with which to situate and orient new information. Working memory becomes overloaded, and therefore learning is restricted and hard-going for the student. In contrast, an expert has an existing network within their long-term memory with which to tie new information to. Learning becomes easier due to the reduced use of working memory. In summary, because new knowledge is built on existing knowledge, the use of learner-driven inquiry must always take students' existing knowledge into account. A final argument against the learner-driven approach relates to choice. Evidence suggests that students often choose learning they prefer, which may not benefit them, with new tasks they see as challenging being avoided. Since 2017, teachers have benefited from the delivery of teaching and learning that is more responsive to individual students and classes. Also, flexibility has increased, allowing better study of current affairs through news media, an important vehicle that helps students make sense of the world. However, long-standing issues remain. Literacy and engagement still hold back many students who are failing under the one-size-fits-all system. Also, adequate progress has not been made to attract Maori and boys to senior NCA social science subjects. The acknowledgement of 2 points will provide the foundation for future improvement. Firstly, the students struggle with learner-driven personalised learning, with a lack of prior knowledge being a major factor. Although there are other contributing reasons, a lack of prior knowledge and limited inquiry experience results in cognitive overload. Prior knowledge determines how we find, select, and process new information, and if that knowledge is missing, the inquiry process is likely to collapse, an experience many students have. Secondly, the curriculum puts too much emphasis on everyday unstructured knowledge and not enough on structured epistemic or disciplinary knowledge. This structured knowledge is key for cognitive development and even for social change. The adopted approach affords students scope to use their everyday knowledge to explore a series of big ideas. Prior to the learner-driven inquiry, where students can apply their everyday knowledge to the chosen big idea, teachers front-load conceptual knowledge relating to the big idea. But because these concepts are not well defined in the social studies curriculum, there is little consistency. Ergo, the students' everyday knowledge often remains unstructured, with them not able to place it anywhere. Learning is therefore restricted due to overdependence on working memory. For personalised learning practice to improve, a growing awareness of epistemic knowledge, cognitive development, and personalised learning strategies will contribute to a back-to-basics review of curriculum and pedagogy and ensure learner-centred and learner-driven approaches become well-defined and complementary. The review and development of the social studies curriculum with a focus on epistemic knowledge and thinking provides the main aim. Backward mapping key disciplinary concepts for each senior subject and their relationship to our big ideas, which may also need reviewing, will ensure we are teaching the knowledge required for students to become adept social scientists. Other schools' experiences highlight the challenge of this task. However, the recently developed curriculum design coherence model will provide a coherent process to apply in the redesign of our course. Increased knowledge on cognitive development will inform pedagogy, ensuring the curriculum is delivered in a learner-centered manner. Too much attention has been placed on the differences between students by accommodating their everyday knowledge and interests, instead of the cognitive similarities students have that enable effective learning. Pedagogy with clear instruction will reduce extraneous cognitive load, contributing to a more learner-centered approach. For novice learners, An acceptance is needed that learner-driven inquiry could never be the method, although it may be the goal. Authentic personalised learning pedagogy will only be achieved once social studies teachers have the capability to employ a learner-centred approach by using personalised learning strategies. A range of possible strategies exist to support this goal. Also, limiting students' control of learner-driven inquiry in consideration of their developmental level must now become the overarching and omnipresent consideration. Finally, previous decisions were made without reference to or knowledge of sound empirical data. In future, any approaches lacking sufficient scientific support should be rejected. Ngā mihi nui.